Melania is not taking it anymore. Look what she just said to Morning Joe host who attacked Trump. Will the American lamestream media ever learn the lesson that President Donald Trump isn't former President George W. Bush? And because of this they just won't be able to get one over on him? Let's hope they never do. Earlier this morning, just as MSNBC's Morning Joe was on the air spewing their regular morning hate-filled rants against our president, the president himself sent our two hilarious tweets against soon-to-be-married far-left-wing co-hosts, the failed congressman from Florida Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski.All. The liberal hack Mika Brzezinski was able to respond to Trump's attackers by tweeting a picture of an old Cheerios promo that was labeled "Made for Little Hands," which was a reference to an attack on Trump made by Senator Marco Rubio during the 2016 GOP primary campaign. Weak Mika, weak. What is even funnier is that after the media lost their ever-loving minds over this Twitter battle, Melania Trump issued her own state where she professes her support for her husband's actions 110%. It was reported earlier today that First Lady Melania Trump's spokeswoman, when asked about the president's tweets, replied that if you punched President Trump, he will punch you back 10 times harder. She also added that as the First Lady begins her anti-bullying campaign, this case isn't the president's fault because he's defending himself against constant vicious attacks by the media. Let's remind ourselves who Joe Scarborough really is. Big wheel keeps on turning. July 21, 2003, apt.us. Between the evening of July 19, 2001, and the following morning, a young, vigorous political aide named Lori Clausudas died alone and under mysterious circumstances in the Ft. Walton Beach, Florida, offices of Congressman Joseph Scarborough. The attending medical examiner, Dr. Michael Birkeland, stated in his report that she had fainted and fallen, hitting her head on a desk. This, he said, broke her skull in a 7-inch transverse fracture running from right temple to left, pulverized a region of bone the size of a small marble inside the skull behind the right ear and caused a fist-sized hematoma, or effusion of blood, gathering below the dura mater of the left side of the skull. There was also a contusion, or bruise, on the back of the head. Bloody foam, signifying a death of slow asphyxiation, bubbled up from her lungs into her mouth. Just for good measure, Dr. Birkeland claimed that Lori's heart had also failed. Remarkably, the entire political establishment of Northwest Florida, from the police department to the press, formed a solid stone wall around this astonishing conclusion. Birkeland's supervisor, Dr. Gary Cumberland, did not notice the internal contradiction between the claim of heart failure and the formation of a massive hematoma. Nor did he remark on Birkeland's claim, which contradicts the medical literature, that the hematoma could only have been formed by Lori's head striking an object, not vice versa. The chairman of the Medical Examiners Commission for the state of Florida, Dr. Stephen Nelson, was well aware of the shortcomings in Birkeland's record, having recommended that Birkeland be suspended for failing to report to Florida that his license was in danger of revocation in Missouri. Nelson knew that Birkeland had been fired by the state of Missouri for failing to complete autopsy reports. According to his Missouri supervisor's deposition, Birkeland failed to perform 28 autopsy reports for homicides alone in 1994-5. The total number of incomplete cases may have been over 140. Ultimately, the cause of death could not be determined for several cases. Nelson also learned at the time of the Clausudas case that Birkeland had falsified his curriculum vitae. More seriously, he had falsified autopsy reports and mishandled organs taken from the dead. In one particularly tragic case, one that irreparably traumatized the surviving family members, Birkeland removed the brain of a young woman from his office and placed it in the back of his car. It had to be rescued by an agent of the family's attorney. Nelson, who in 1999 recommended that Birkeland be suspended, also knew that Birkeland had subsequently escaped discipline by Florida. Yet as senior medical examiner for the state of Florida, Nelson disclaimed to us any power to act in the Clausudas case. perhaps having witnessed the political workings that squashed Nelson's effort to oust Birkeland and succeeded in sealing the complaint against Birkeland that Nelson had supported. Nelson concluded that the state of Florida desired good politics over good forensic medicine. In any event, not long after the Birkeland episode, Nelson was promoted to the chairmanship of the Medical Examiners Commission. For this second anniversary of Lori Clausutis' death, a review of recent events is in order. On June 17, 2003, WGDX-AM 1280 radio broke the news that Birkeland had been abruptly fired. On June 27, Michelle Nicholson of WARE TV reported that the official cause of dismissal was given as a failure to complete autopsies in a timely fashion. This was one of the same charges that led to his firing in Missouri. In Florida, Birkeland claimed he had done 320 autopsies in his last year in the 1st Judicial District Medical Examiner's Office. This number, disputed by the Medical Examiner's Office, is substantially greater than the number he was performing in Missouri and may represent cases with incomplete or absent notes.